It is April 10th, 2021. We're here in the backyard of the house located at 6380 Rancho Park Drive in San Diego, California, 92120. We have one clean out here right behind the kitchen area, so we're going to go ahead and start to see if we can get into the system through this 2-inch ABS plastic clean out. Got a little bit of soaps and suds in there. There we go, and now we're running into original cast iron. So they modified a few inches below ground with ABS, and then it converts right back to the original cast iron. And so you can see right here it's extremely constricted. It may not have been snaked in a while, but we do have a lot of buildup in there. So what will end up happening is if we try to push through this, it'll end up clogging the drain. Then we'd have to, or somebody would have to pay us to snake it out. So we're not going to be able to push through this cast iron right there. Obviously, it's going to need a clean relatively soon. Again, this is a 2-inch pipe, and as you can see right there, that's getting down to less than 1 inch, if that, and it's not even, circular. So that's going to have to be snaked and or light hydrojetting with a small hydrojet machine to kind of clean this up. But it's just going to be a standard backup. It's probably not going to be anything more serious than a general cabling or snaking. So we were going to try to access the main sewer from this one, but we're not going to attempt that through here because of how constricted this is, mostly just because it'll cause a stoppage. Not so much that the camera may not get through, but it might lead to constant blockages because the camera can't really clear a drain out. So we're going to pause for 1 second and move over to another clean out on the back side. Okay, so moved away from the kitchen all the way over to this back corner of the house right here. We have another 2-inch clean out. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can get our cameras all the way out into the main sewer from here. So this ABS also, just like the kitchen one, immediately converts back down into cast iron when it gets down to the horizontal line. But you can see this one is open and normal because it's not getting all that food and debris. So the kitchen one, when it gets cleaned up, would almost look like this. Probably have a little bit more hard deposits and scale and build up on it, but you would be able to get it looking a lot better. Just needs to be cleaned up, that's all. So we have a turn right here on the system going vertically down, and then we have our turn into the main sewer right here. So we have another 90-degree turn right here. So we'll see if our camera here can make this swivel turn. Okay, it's going to stick a little bit here, so we're going to go ahead and pause the video and swap out cameras. Okay, so we now have a second camera here that we're going to utilize. This one is not self-leveling, but it's a little bit smaller, a little bit easier to get through harder turns, so it won't be the exact type of image. The brightness isn't the same, and not self-leveling, showing the image upright, but this may allow us to get through the whole system here, which we're looking to do to see if we find any major problems. We're looking for root intrusions, sags, cracks, breaks, misaligned pipes, any foreign debris in the line, be it construction debris or any other objects. So we're kind of getting hung up right here on a little bit of debris. We're going to go ahead and pause the video for 1 second. Okay, we've run a little bit of water just down through here so we can go ahead and clean off that lens. We'll now try to see how far we can get down this pipe here. So we are in the main sewer. This is all original cast iron, but as you can see, it looks nice and open. No issues right here on this side of the house, under the house. We're going to go ahead and pause the video for 1 second to go ahead and run some more water through the system. Okay, so we have some water running through the bathroom that's here that's nearest the garage. I'm going to let that keep running. It might obstruct the view on occasion, but it might help us get further out. So we'll see how far we can push with that running. and then we'll shut the water off and we come back in reverse in case there's anything that looks suspicious. But again, we're not seeing anything in the system right now that looks bad, but we're still just under the house itself. There's a vertical drop right there. T-junction on the line, could be picking up from the upstairs. Everything still looks clear and open. Looks like we're coming up to a conversion right here, which could be plastic ABS pipe. So it does look like there's a small section that was changed out, or at least one piece of pipe. We'll see. Again, this is a very small camera, so the colorization and the image is a little bit distorted compared to the first cameras, but those won't get through the system. But this does appear to be newer plastic pipe, so that's what we're looking for. Okay, we could see what looked like a T-junction coming up here. I don't know if it's a turn on the line or a vertical drop. So we're going to shut the water off here in a minute. I'm just going to push this a little bit more forward to try to see where we're at on the system. Okay, we've shut the water off in the one lavatory sink we had running, which is the half bath, powder bath style bathroom off the garage and off this corner back of the house. And so we should have water slowing down within a minute or so. If it stays with all this water in the line, then it's possible there is either a blockage in the line, damming and holding up some of the water, or there's just improper slope on the line. So we'll go ahead and give this another couple minutes just to see if that resides down. And then in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and try to see if we can pinpoint where we're at on the system, because it's hard to tell right here if we're at a T-junction or if we are still on a straight pipe here. So not seeing much water movement, so we may have a little issue with improper slope on the line that's not draining out. It's quite deep. So we're going to go ahead and pause and locate. Okay, so you can see right now we are still underwater. There's a bunch of little floaties and debris in the line. We've obviously have no water running for a while here. We actually were able to go ahead and locate this, and we found the pipe, and we actually found that this horizontal plastic line does have a original property line clean out that was just under the bark and the landscaping. So we uncovered that, and so that was obviously dug up and replaced, but unfortunately when they replaced it, they did something wrong with the slope of the pipe, whether it was an installation error, whether the pipe had a curve and a bow to it, which it gets really quick, and you have to be sure you lay it on the proper side. And you also have to properly support a pipe with what we call shading on the bottom and sides before you backfill. Otherwise, if it gets undermined underneath, then it will, over time, with the temperature of the water, temperature of the area, it'll actually create that sag. So we obviously didn't put it in. We don't know what caused it, but this is an improper, out of code installation right here. Not saying it's going to be a constant issue, but obviously this is a lot of water that's not draining out, which is then going to cause all this food debris and then just other feces and paper to not drain down and out of the system properly, and could lead to stoppages. And unfortunately, because there's no real access, you couldn't clean the sewer from here with a cable. It'd be extremely difficult going from this little 2-inch opening, which has multiple 90s, trying to clean a huge 4-inch pipe out. So you can see it just doesn't really work that well. Also, our distance counter on the bottom left of the screen, it shows you 46 feet 9 inches. That's not accurate. This camera that we're using, it was a very special camera that we created, and the distance counter that it uses by just tracking revolutions of the reel is not precise, and so we're actually probably closer to about 65 to 70 feet out. So that also makes it difficult for smaller cables that you'd have to use with a cutting bit to get out that distance, because we usually only have large cables that are 75 and 100 feet long. But anyway, we've gone ahead and located to clean out the front yard, so we're going to move our camera systems, a different one, over to that front there. So we're going to try to see if this one will go any further, but again, I don't think it's going to. We're definitely kind of just stuck. So what we're going to go ahead and do here is slowly pull back on the camera now that the water is again off and not running, and try to show this a little bit more as far as the length that's underwater there. As you see, we slowly back up. We're going to go back really slow so it doesn't create too much of a wave. So as you're looking forward here by a few feet, that is the property line clean out that we're about to expose in the front yard that we've located. So most of the pipe is relatively open, but it is holding a good amount of water. So we're not saying this has to be dug up and repaired, but if it does land up leading to stoppages somehow on a constant basis, then this will need to be completely dug up, and the T pipe, or T junction here with the pipe below it, will literally have to be lowered, and we'll get a view of that coming up next to see if that's feasible, how much there is before it becomes horizontal again. But again, this is all ABS plastic pipe, so they replaced everything in the front yard with plastic. We have just cast iron under the slab of the home still, but that's completely operational and in good condition. So we're going to pause and move to the front yard. Okay, so you can see we're now here at the front of the house, and so we basically came out on the far back left side of the house and then came across at an angle, and that picked up the 2 upstairs bathrooms, which were in the pathway of the line that we went across, and then the kitchen is on this right side of the house where we started. So we have one other smaller camera. We may try to go through the kitchen still, but for right now we're going to look down the rest of this sewer. So we've located and uncovered this buried property clean out. So this was the ABS that was replaced. So here is the horizontal line right here. Now this clean out right here that we've uncovered is actually going back into the house. So we're actually going to be able to look backwards. So there must be a second clean out a little bit farther forward. So there's our first camera that we have. You can see we're running into it right there. So we're basically going in the backwards direction. So the good news is that this little area that's holding water is actually this clean out. So it is now accessible from this area by digging up and exposing this piece here. So that piece we saw holding water can now easily be cleaned if it ever does back up. So that's kind of good and changes everything. And again, it is smooth plastic pipe, so the friction is a lot less than cast iron. But it, again, holding water like this is incorrect, but relatively minor, so it may not cause any backups. So pull back up out of this vertical here, and so if they did this the right way, which we're assuming they definitely did, there should be another clean out a little bit farther back into the front yard right here, almost under our equipment. So we're going to go ahead and pause for 1 second to go ahead and try to locate that. Okay, so we've uncovered the other clean out. So you can see right there the retaining wall next to the sidewalk. So about 7.5 feet in is that first clean out we found there with the raised head plug. That leads back to clear the line inside the house if you need to. And then here we uncovered the second clean out, which has a recessed head plug. They must have ran out of the other standard style, but anyway, this will sweep away from the house. So we couldn't see these on the initial view because it's underwater, and so the camera was basically underwater, so we couldn't actually see this T-junction. So here's the turn right here, and as you can see, this is a full T-junction, so there actually may be a third clean out past this, because this is the vertical drop right here, but we're just going to push down this, and let's see, it looks like it might turn directly into cast iron here. We're going to see we got a little bit of droplets of water from that area that's holding water on the front of our lens. So we went down that vertical, and it is cast iron here. So this is all the original cast iron. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pause the video for 1 second and put a different guide on the front of our camera here. Okay, so we've put the cover back on this clean out here, which sweeps away from the house, because it basically only goes across, runs across to this one that we uncovered first, that goes back to the house, and then literally a few inches across is the next clean out right here. You can see, and this is the original property line with that vertical pipe. In the 90 we saw the pipe making going down, so now we're going straight down. Here's the T-junction right there that picks up the horizontal line from those two clean outs that we just looked at. And then you can see right below that, it transitions back into the original cast iron. So they didn't dig down to get rid of any of this vertical, but as long as it's in good shape, that won't be a problem. But this vertical goes down for a few feet, and then it's going to become horizontal. So here's that 90-degree turn, and now we're in the horizontal line across. We got a little bit of debris in our line. Looks like we're back into clay pipe possibly already. So what we're going to go ahead and do is pause the video for 1 second while we put a bucket of water down just to clean up the lens, get a crystal clear view. Okay, put some water down, but we still had to pull the camera back out to clean off the lens. It just was not giving us a really clear enough view that we were happy with. So again, here's that vertical cast iron with the 90 now, and then it's transitioning across. Let's see if we can hit any of that debris right there that's kind of caked up. So we got a few barely feet of cast iron on this horizontal. Now we're into clay pipe right here. Still slightly obstructed, a little bit of view right here. So let me put one more bucket of water down the line. Okay, so we're now going through the line here. So here's our first clay hub. Doesn't look like we have any roots there. A little bit of debris on the upper right hand side, but it's minuscule and does not look like roots trying to grow in the system right there. Okay, and there you go. So we're now already up to the city's repair that they did with their contractor. So you can see that the clay ends after just one section, and it goes into what's called green bell PVC. And then we have this white fitting, which is the T-junction, and there's a lid in the sidewalk that they put in when they redid this. So they dug up the sidewalk to put this in, and then what they did was they relined the clay. So they took out that piece of clay, added this T, and then they shot the clay with what's called a liner. So this is the clay pipe we're in right here that's been relined. So it has a coating of a fiberglass weave with an epoxy resin, and creates a new pipe inside essentially, and prevents the roots from typically ever being able to get back into the system right there. So you can see the little weave on the upper right hand side there. There's some lettering and numbering right there on that piece. We have a turn right here. And then here's our larger pipe with the letters and numbers imprinted onto there. So now we're in the larger pipe right here. So we're basically 40 feet out, so now we're in the big city pipe here. So this is no longer the responsibility of the owner, but again, this has also been all replaced. So basically this whole system from the sidewalk out, the city took care of, obviously, so that'll never be an issue. So the small amount of water that's being held in the ABS here you saw with the camera, initial one, is relatively minor. We don't think it's going to be an issue, and because these cleanouts were unknown, we're assuming, and undisturbed, they probably have never had a backup with it. So now at least you have them, we know where they're at if there ever was an issue. So the only issue we have at this point right now is the kitchen line, which I'm sure is functional and draining, but does need definitely a cleaning of the line out. So we'll see if we can maybe get a smaller camera through. So we're going to go ahead and pause the video. Okay, so we've covered everything back up, and we have 3 flags in the ground here, all in succession, of course, showing the 3 clean outs. The first 2 that are double sweeps, and the last one, the vertical pipe. So those are all marked. And so the only issue again with the property right now is basically the kitchen 2-inch cast iron drain line under the house slab. It does need to be cleaned up, hydrojetted and snaked to get that opened up because of how constricted it is right now with just normal buildup of food and grease and other debris. Other than that, the line is all replaced in the front yard with plastic ABS. The cast iron is in good condition under the slab of the house for the main sewer. So that concludes the recording for this property.